Hi, I'm George Nordhaus, and welcome to Monday Morning. Got an unusual one for you today. You're really going to enjoy it because we have a tremendous speaker. Tom Baker is doing it. That's not his picture, incidentally, although it's kind of looks like him. But at any rate, he's the president of Catalyst Insurance Systems. 30 years he was a marriage and family counselor. He has workshops on he did workshops on all kinds of stuff: leadership development, team building, communications. You remember the TSA thing after 9/11? He's one of those guys who trained those TSA people out in the airports to do that. That was an amazing thing. But for the last 10 years or so, he's been in insurance. He understands people very, very well, and that's why I like to talk to him. And he's not locked into the famous old, well, he brings a fresh perspective to it. And I really enjoy that because I learn from him every time I interview him, and this is quite a number of them. I don't remember how many. Do you, Tom?
Too many to remember. You're right.
Go ahead. Tell us about compensation.
Well, you mentioned that picture kind of looks like me. The hairline gets a little bit more familiar every day to me, but I tried to find a picture that said this is how a lot of people or most people feel about compensation. And boy, when I talk with agency owners, that feeling of pressure like your head's going to explode, there's a lot of owners listening right now that says, yeah, compensation gives me lots of headaches. And that's what we're going to look at is how do we cure this? How do we get rid of those headaches? And George, my goal by the time we get done with our Monday morning this morning, we're going to actually have a pattern or a template that any agency on the phone right now can create a performance-based compensation plan, which is what I believe it's going to take in order to cure the headaches. And one of the reasons that I feel that is there are four things that I believe, in my experience, compensation plans should and must deliver for any organization, not just insurance, but this is true for any organization. First of all, a compensation plan, and for those of you listening, check off in your mind and see if these four things is what your compensation plan's doing, and I'm kind of guessing the answer is going to be no. A compensation plan should give all staff, not just sales, not just people tied to revenue, but should give all staff a guaranteed pathway to make more money in 2014. And if there's any way that traditional compensation plans don't work, this is probably one of the biggest, because very few industries, including ours, are giving staff guaranteed automatic pay raises every year. You simply can't afford to take the risk and increase your expenses. But a performance-based plan, the kind we're going to look at today, actually gives staff a guaranteed pathway. George, I probably told you this before. We have one of our customers with a performance-based approach. They actually, in writing, guaranteed 20-plus employees a 10% pay increase every year for the next 5 years.
Holy mackerel.
And let me tell you, those staff immediately like the difference in performance-based compensation as opposed to traditional compensation. But staff, they want, and I understand that, they want to know they can make more money every year, and a traditional compensation plan is simply not designed to deliver that. The second thing is a compensation plan, one that's effective, should align staff compensation with trackable, measurable business drivers. In other words, an owner should be able to look and say, these are the behaviors, this is what I'm getting back from my compensation plan. And one of the biggest areas I think that apply here, and we'll talk about some of these things as we go through the rest of our time today, but one of the things that I believe this applies to is producers who, you know better than I do, George, the temperament and such producers, and they'll say, hey, I'm bringing in the money, leave me alone, let me do it my way. Well, I've seen situations where producers are hitting their sales goal and actually costing the agency as much or more as they're bringing in because they're not doing the daily routine behaviors successful salespeople have done for the last 100 years. There are certain things, whether it's cold calls, referrals, testimonials, following procedures, whatever. These are the types of business drivers that I believe a performance-based approach, which is what we're going to look at, has, that is far, far more effective and profitable than traditional compensation plans. The third thing that a compensation plan should do is to attract quality job applicants, a compensation plan should actually make you an employer of choice so that people want to come work for you. And the fourth thing, and boy, I think this is effective, it should make staff accountable for their own success. Management, you don't have time to do a lot of spreadsheets and all kinds of stuff. A compensation plan should make staff responsible for their own success. And this is where I hear a lot of business owners, George, that feel like they're babysitters. They've got to make and drive behavior, and it simply doesn't work. Matter of fact, our core belief is if it's up to an agency owner to get something done, whatever it is, it will never happen. If it's going to take the owner to make it successful, it's not going to be successful for a number of reasons. We want owners to be free to grow the business, sell insurance, do the things that make their business successful in the first place. And a compensation plan really should do all of these four things. But you know the thing it really should do, George, it should make you money. As a business owner, I hate expenses. I don't like spending money, but I love investing money because I get a return on investment. And we're going to talk about that a little bit more in a couple of minutes. But a compensation plan, every business owner should know what, if I'm paying out 50 cents or more on the dollar, which we are on any business, if we're paying that out, I want to know how much money it's making me, because, you know, if it doesn't make me money, I don't want to do it. I don't like things that cost me money. I want anything I do to make me money. Why? Because then I get to go on and benefit people and provide jobs and all the things that I enjoy doing. So that is kind of an introduction that gives the separation, the difference between traditional compensation, what we're going to look at, and very simply we'll call performance-based. You can really call it anything you want. But we're going to look at 5 reasons why the old way doesn't work, and it's really time for something new. Okay, first of all, it's one of 5 things. Number 1, compensation and bonuses should absolutely, positively never be mixed. And this is probably the biggest mistake that I see agency owners, George, make, is they'll put as part of someone's compensation, and let's go with producer, if you do new business, will pay you 40%. Renewals will pay you 30%. Well, the problem is we have just told that producer, if you want more money, sell more new business. If you don't want more money, you can build your renewal book up so that you can play golf 3 days a week and still pay your bills. And there's a lot of producers out there in that situation. That's what happens when you do if and potential combined with a compensation plan. For staff, it sounds something like, you know, staff, if you sell a new policy, I'll give you $10 or some spiff or something that management is doing. If possibility or potential, it never should be mixed with a compensation plan, because when you do, if there's an if anywhere in your compensation plan, I really ask, listen real carefully to this for every business owner. If there is an if or potential or opportunity associated with compensation, then what you're saying is, I'm going to leave it up to you, staff, to decide what's in your own best interest, not what's in the agency's best interest. There needs to be things, this is your job to do. You don't get to choose if you want to do it. Now, we may have bonuses on top, and I love bonuses and incentives, but those are very separate and different from compensation. And I think I've told you this story before. Back in my counseling days, I would have parents who thought they were smarter than a teenager, and that's kind of hard to do. But they would tell the teenage boy with a messy room, look, son, if you want to watch TV tonight, you got to clean your room. So the kid would go look at TV guides, nothing they wanted to watch on TV. So they go back to the parent and say, fine, I'll stay in my messy room and I'll play Nintendo or whatever we had back in those days. And the parent would call me and say, Tom, I need you to fix this. I said, there's nothing to fix. You gave them an option to do what's in their best interest. He made the decision. It's just not what's in the family's best interest. That's what happens when you combine compensation with bonuses. Compensation, this is your job. You don't incentivize people for doing their job. This is your responsibility. These are bonuses above and beyond, but they're 2 very, very different things. And I see agencies every day who are combining them, and I promise you it's going to get you into trouble. Second thing, paying for time actually demotivates and encourages lack of productivity. This is going to be true for CSRs, accounting, any folks that are either on salary or on time. It actually works against you, and a lot of business owners don't realize this. Paying for time encourages reduced productivity. Hey, if I get $10 an hour and I can take 2 hours to do something that can be done in 1 hour, now I'm getting paid $20 an hour to do that. So it says, I'm going to get paid the same regardless. I'm going to take as long as what I need, and what ends up happening, you actually reduce productivity. And it demotivates staff because, and boy, I find this true at almost every agency. The only way staff, support staff, CSRs, receptions, accounting, the only way that they have to know if they're successful, have I sat at my chair 8 hours a day and sucked air, and how much backlog do I have? And that's the only way I have to measure if I'm successful or not. That's a demotivating, because there's no goals, there's nothing to celebrate. There's only, I don't care how much my backlog is today, it's going to be back tomorrow. So that's not a very motivating thing. And mentioned a while ago, paying for time, you're not going to increase that person's income every year.
Tom, are you saying that people shouldn't pay by the hour?
I'm saying that an effective performance-based plan should reduce the hourly and redistribute income so that it's also coming from performance, and possibly from commission.
Got it.
Relying on hourly or salary as the sole means, I guarantee you it's going to frustrate staff, and it's going to also frustrate management. So yeah, good point, George. It's okay, and I'll show you in just a moment. It's okay to have it, but it needs to be part of a plan that has broader responsibilities than just showing up, which is unfortunately where a lot of folks are right now. If you pay for time, you get time. If you pay for results, you get results. A performance-based approach provokes creativity, because now this person's looking for ways to do things more effectively, more efficiently, better, because in some way it's going to make them more money. It's going to guarantee them annually to make more money. And we were talking about the agency that actually guaranteed 10% more every year, and that's unheard of. And the nice thing is, on performance-based, the agency is not really at risk. Staff have something that they are moving towards. And you know what? This agency's moving about 19% ahead of last year. And there's not a lot of people that can say that. And the reason is because they went on a performance-based approach to compensation. It also empowers staff to self-manage. And when you empower people, you do one of two things. They'll either be empowered and do the job, or they'll quit. With something what we're talking about, there is no in between. They're either going to come in line, they're going to help the agency grow, or they're going to say, this isn't for me. And really either one of those are pretty good options. Number 3, expenses get you something. This is really, really good. Expenses get you something. Investments can get you everything. If I go out and buy a hamburger, I spend $5 on a hamburger at McDonald's. I eat my hamburger, a couple hours later, I'm hungry again. I got something for my money, but there's nothing lasting. It's going to go away. I don't care what I buy, it's going to end up in the trash heap at some point. So expenses will get you something, but if I had invested, George, I think about this, and I really wish I'd been smart enough, both of us, wouldn't it be nice if we knew what we knew 40 years ago? And if I'd invested $5 in IBM 40 years ago, I'd be sitting on a beach retired right now. As much as I enjoy our conversation, I'd be sitting on a beach retired.
Yeah, so, I didn't want to invest in Warren Buffett those days because I thought he was just, some Iowa hick. But that's another story.
Who knew? Who knew?
Right.
So investments can get you everything. Compensation is an investment, and the difference is, an investment, you have a return. What I ask agency owners, what's your return on investment? What are you going to have back to you from? They say, I don't know, I'm just going to pay it out and hope for the best. Guys, folks, you've proven this. It doesn't work that way. Number 4, something's wrong when staff are more profitable than the agency. How often have we seen staff are paying their bills and agency owners are not profitable? That's not a viable, sustainable business model. If the agency is not profitable, everybody loses. If the agency is profitable, everybody wins. But compensation plan should be something that makes sure if the staff is making money, the agency's making money. If I keep paying staff the same thing and my revenue is going backwards or staying flat, that is not a sustainable model. You may not be giving pay increases every year, but if your revenue happens to be slipping and you're paying out the same thing, then the staff is more profitable than you are, and that's not a sustainable business model. Number 5, and boy, this is a big one. This is what I found out back in my counseling days. Staff don't need to be motivated. George, how often have we heard people say, I'm trying to motivate my staff and I just can't get them to do the right thing? Well, the reason is you can't get anybody to do the right thing. Staff don't need to be motivated, but they want to be engaged. It's not that you've got to stand behind pushing them. Jim Collins in the great book Good to Great says you get the right people on the bus, the wrong people off the bus, because the right people you don't have to motivate. They bring that with them. You simply engage them and challenge them and give them the direction and give them the power, and they're going to move on their own energy. If you're having to provide energy for your staff, you've got the wrong staff and you've got the wrong compensation plan, because compensation should engage staff, not just try to motivate them. Now, I said at the beginning that I want to give folks a way that they can actually take this and do something with it. So real quickly, I wanted to show you this is what a performance-based compensation plan, in my estimation, what I recommend. And any owner is going to tell you what you need. You can follow this if you want to. First thing we're going to do, Jack Bauer for any 24 fans. Do you watch 24? Did you watch that show, George?
Yeah, loved it. Loved it. Loved it.
I love it.
Yeah.
Jack Bauer, if I was going to have anybody working for me, man, Jack Bauer, because Jack's going to do anything he has to. Yeah, he even died, I think, 3 times in the show to do his jobs. I'd love for Jack to work for me. So what we're going to say is, Jack, you made $30,000 last year. Your guaranteed income is $33,000 this year. Jack, we're going to guarantee you a 10% pay increase. Jack, are you okay with that? And I've never had staff say, nah, keep it. Staff's going to say, yeah. Now, Jack, that's providing you do your job. Does that seem fair to you? So Jack says, yeah, that seems fair. So Jack, in other words, is not an opportunity to earn $3,000 more. It's a responsibility. It's your job to do that. So understand, if you don't earn $33,000, you haven't done your job, and there's consequences. We're going to take the ifs and the potential and opportunities out. I want to say, Jack, this is a responsibility, and something happens psychologically. When people buy in and they see that $33,000 and they own it, they can visualize it, they can see themselves spending that money. When they see that, at that point then, they'll do anything they have to not lose what's theirs. Bonuses and such, they never have it, so they don't mind losing it. If we can get staff buying in, they say, man, I'm going to do everything I can because I'm not going to lose money that's mine. Second thing we're going to do is on commission, and boy, there's some owners that are going to really pay attention here because this is very different. We're going to combine new and renewal goals, and we're going to tell could be a CSR, could be a producer. We have some customers who actually put teams together and put their entire personal lines or commercial lines or the entire agency. But we're going to set a goal of $225,000 that includes retention and new business, and then their plan is going to be based on that revenue goal, whatever that might be. Jack's is $225,000. So what we're going to say is, all right, Jack, you're $33,000, 85% is going to come from hourly, and at $40 an hour, $13.49 an hour, that's $28,000. Now, Jack made $30,000 in salary or hourly last year. And going back to your point about, yeah, hourly salary is great, but we've reduced the portion coming from that, and now 10% is going to come from commission. And here's how the commission works. Jack, when you do your job on a monthly basis, you're going to make 1.467. Obviously, producer is going to be a different structure and higher than this, but let's say this is a CSR. Jack, when you do your job, you're going to get about $300 a month because you're going to get 1.467% of whatever comes in that month. But, Jack, on months you don't do your job, your commission is going to go down to 0.8%, and it's going to be about $164 or less. So in other words, you do your job, you get your money. You don't do your job, and there's consequences. One of those consequences is it's going to take your money out of your pocket. 5% of Jack's compensation is going to come from performance. And here's a matrix that we recommend that in order for Jack to get all of his money, $1,650, he's going to have to do at least 95% of his job. In other words, for 95% you get all of your money. For 90% you only get 75% of your money. And for less than 75% you don't get any of your money. But we do have a very special gift for you, and that's called a disciplinary warning that we actually help folks work with because there's consequences. Jack, these are not bonuses. This is your job. Now, we use what we call KPIs, and I didn't come up with this term. It's been around forever and ever. KPIs, key performance indicator. The way we work and recommend is you set an annual goal, you put a maximum score that adds up to 100. It's real simple. If Jack gets 100 account reviews for the year, he gets his maximum score of 10. If he gets 90% or 90 account reviews, he gets 9 or 90% of his score. So this is how that 95 or 80 or 90 is arrived at. It's how much of your goal did you do. If you go over your goal, you still have your maximum score because you don't get to just do what's, you have fun doing and blow off the rest. All of these things are your job. Usually we have about 7, maybe 10 at the very most, but 7's a really good number of key performance indicators. And George, you see one of the items here is policies with preferred carriers. We have an agency that we work with who missed a $30,000 contingency check by one policy.
Oh.
And that'll make you just sit out and cry.
Brother.
That's just, but you know what? We're finding agencies are saying, okay, we want X amount of policies or X amount of premium written with specific carriers because we have better commission rates. We have better contingencies. And you know what? They're getting it. We're at, we help agencies add dollars directly to bottom line because with KPIs you can direct the staff and you can align compensation with key business drivers for the agency. Mm-hmm. So this type of structure where you divide compensation between hourly salary, commission, and KPIs performance, or you can say just KPIs and commission, you can arrange these in different ways. But now we have a compensation plan. This is actually my very favorite part in the whole in this whole process. Is staff sign a what we call a responsibility agreement, where they say it's my responsibility to do my job. I understand that my income as well as future participation as an employee is based on my personal performance, and it's up to me to let management know if I need clarification, training, or resources to do my job. In other words, don't come back in 90 days and say, I didn't understand or I didn't get it or I didn't have the training. It's up to staff to take responsibility for their own success. And
Tom,
this is what...
Go ahead.
Yes, sir.
No, I was just going to ask you, how many agencies do you think do this? How many get people to sign something?
Oh, zero. For two reasons. One, because they don't have the job spelled out. They say, well, you're a CSR. Go sit and learn from somebody else and do the best you can. There's nothing to measure. Not objectively. It changes every day. It's whatever's hot at the moment. But I would say probably 1% at the most of agencies have any kind of a compensation plan that has measurable, trackable results. At least based on the ones I'm talking about small agencies with 2 employees all the way up to 100 employees. I don't see this type of an approach. I see we're going to pay you X amount of dollars, and we're going to do a split commission structure, and we're going to give you the opportunity to earn more. And really good example. I was talking to an agency last year, George, who we're talking about asking for referrals, and the owner said, well, we mandate that our staff ask for referrals. And I said, really? how much money is it going to cost the person if they don't get a referral? Well, it's not going to cost them any money. At what point do they lose their job? Oh, they're not going to lose their job. So really, you don't have a mandate. You have a suggestion. You have a request. You would like for them to do it. Oh, no, it's their job to do it. No, it isn't, because there's absolutely nothing that is going to happen to this person, pro or con, positive or negative. And that's where it's not part of the insurance way of thinking to give standards for doing business, key business drivers, aligning compensation to performance. It's just not the way we've done it as an industry, and it's not just ours. It's most industries. But I don't know. What do you think? You've been around the industry longer than I have.
No, I've never seen it. I've never seen it like this. I've never seen it broken down as well. Jack, do you have any? I mean, Jack. I was thinking about Jack Bauer. Are you Jack Bauer? No, you're not Jack Bauer. You have any last words, Tom? Because this is really fascinating.
Yeah, the only thing I can say, I will be more than happy to do a complimentary assessment of any owner's compensation plan, and no cost, no obligation. I'll sit down and point out the strengths, weaknesses, help an owner define
That's
what
terrific.
they're wanting from, and I'd be more than happy to do that for any Monday morning listeners. That would be a privilege to do so.
Oh, that's really a great thing. How do they get hold of you, Tom?
We like things simple, so phone is always preferable. I've got a number below, 214-549-1442. If you've got a question, it's just, how does this work? I am more than happy to talk to any Monday morning listener and help them in any way that I can, because that's how I enjoy spending my day. I believe this is such an important element for growth going forward, because it really is better than 50 cents on every dollar. And, George, you know, commission rates are coming down and down and down. We're probably looking at 8 to 10% here in the next 5, definitely 10 years. And with less money coming in, more responsibilities carriers are putting on agencies, performance-based compensation, I believe, is an absolute critical part of survival and growth and profitability going forward. So anything that I can do for your folks, it is always a pleasure.
It's always a pleasure to interview you two. That was a beautiful presentation, and I think every agency should listen to it and pass it along to every one of the agency managers in the agency, of course, but that goes without saying. Last thing I want to mention here, Tom, is that if you go back to your email, you'll find a couple of archives there of all of these past interviews like this one, and of course this one too. Rough Notes now has it on. Go to roughnotes.com and you'll see it right there. And you'll see Agencies Online. Click on it, and there's all the ones in the past. Go take a look at it. Pass it around to your friends and your people. Feel free. And don't forget, also, you can go to the Insurance Community Center's quiz flash right on the bottom there under our pictures, Tom and my picture, and then they go to the E&O, the Errors and Omissions weekly tips. That's a good one too. So, Tom, again, I thank you, and to the rest of you, I will see you again next Monday morning.